I just wanted to quickly show you that I'm going to be making kefir today, and this is a box. It came with these little packets. This is Kefir Starter, and it's by Yogurtment. It's freeze-dried kefir starter, and it came with 6 5-gram packages, and you can see I only have 2 left. The reason I want to just put this in a quick little video is this is starter, so it's not made to reuse. It's like made like 1 quart per packet and that's it. Well, I just wanted to say that you can once you make the kefir, you can take off part of that and the very next day make another quart. I'm able to get, they kind of vary, but I'm able to get 4 or 5 quarts out of every packet. And it's still just as thick as the first one. So I'm getting to ready to mix some more, and I have my quart of milk. I'm just using cow's milk in here, and I'm going to heat it up to, it says 180 degrees Fahrenheit, or I can bring to a boil, but then I'll have to let it cool to 73 or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. But these are just the directions here. It'll just sit out. I will actually let it sit out overnight, and then in the morning it'll be thick enough for our kefir. And what I do whenever it's ready is we'll put in just a touch of sugar. Like for the whole quart, we'll just put in, I guess, as much sugar as you would want, and some frozen fruit, and blend it up in the Ninja. And then we have, a berry flavored kefir that just tastes delicious. You can see the ingredients up here. It has these live and active cultures, so it's really good. We really like it. Anyway, I guess I need to but I'll just be measuring the temperature with just an ordinary thermometer. And then the box came with this little packet here, just showing you kind of what they have. They have yogurt starter, kefir starter, yogurt maker, just things like that. Okay. Okay, so I let my milk boil. It's done now. So now it has to cool down to 73 to 77 degrees. The cool down process always takes the longest. It can easily take, 2 hours. The first time I did it, it even took about 4 hours nearly before it had cooled down to that lower temperature. So I just leave it off and I just let it sit on the stove, on a different burner, of course, and I just let it sit there until it has reached that lower temperature. And once it has reached that lower temperature, then I pour out a little bit of it into a little bowl, and then I add my starter, I mix it up, and then I put it back in the big bowl, mix it up, and then I pour it into a quart jar, put the lid on it, and just let it sit overnight, and in the morning it's done. Okay, so here's the kefir, and it took 4 hours after I turned the milk off from boiling for it to cool down to the 77 degrees. So I mixed in the starter in just 1 cup of the milk, and then mixed it back in, and then I poured it in this mason jar, this quart here. You can see it's still really runny, but tomorrow morning it will be thick. Okay, and so I just let this sit overnight, and that's how I do that. And then over here you can see I just write kefir on it, and then I have 2 quart jars. One has a star, the other one has a heart, and I just do that because whenever I have 2 or more in the fridge at the same time, I'll tell the kids, drink the one from the star or the heart, whichever one needs to be used up first. So that's just how I do that. So tomorrow I will show you what it looks like after it's set out on the counter overnight. Okay, so here is the kefir. So I let it sit out on the counter for 12 hours last night, and this morning, after church, I knew that we were going to not be home all day, so I went ahead and put it in the fridge. But anyway, I just wanted to show you how thick that it gets. You can see it's very thick. Just a second. Okay, and I just wanted to show you what it looks like here. I showed you how it looked thick. And so this is what it looks like with the spoon. Alright, so what I'm going to do, this is how I use the starter again. I just take 1/4 cup of this, and I've had it this thick before and it works, and I've even had it still a little runny and even pretty runny, and it still works. Okay, so if yours doesn't get this thick and it's still a little runny, it should work. I have not had an issue with it not working. But I just take a 1/4 cup and I put it in my other jar, and that will be my starter for tomorrow. It's kind of too late for me to do this tonight, but so tomorrow I will do the same process that I showed you on how I made this. I will boil a quart of milk and let it cool to 77 degrees, and then I'll take 1 cup of it and mix it in with this really good, and then I'll put the rest of the milk in and then let it sit on the counter again overnight, and that's how I do this. And then the next day I'll take another 1/4 cup from this jar and make another jar and do the whole process again. And so this is how I am able to stretch the starter and let it go. And every time I do this, I'm always able to get 4, sometimes 5 quarts out of one package of starter that's only meant to be used once. Okay? But so how I'm going to make this, and what I do with this is I put it in the Ninja with a little bit of sugar. I think maybe like a couple tablespoons of sugar, or you can use honey, just whatever sweetener you want to use, if any. You may not want any. And I also use some frozen fruit and just blend it up. And if it's too thick for you, this might actually be the thickest I've ever made. Usually it's a little bit more movable. There you go, you can see a little bit moving. Anyhow, once I stir it up, there'll be a little bit more moisture down below. But anyhow, okay. So the sweetener and then the frozen fruit, we prefer like blueberries, blackberries, and a strawberry kind of all blended up in it. And if you want it a little bit more runny, if it's not runny enough for you, just add some more milk. Okay? Anyhow, and just, drink it or put it in a smoothie or whatever you want. And this is delicious. So, thank you for watching and have a good night. Okay, I'm just going to butt back in here again. As I was stirring this, just to go ahead and, scrape the sides, it got considerably more runny than what you did see. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so there you go. That's what it looks like. Okay, so again, have a good night.